What's up? Welcome to Tree Talk, episode 11. What's going on, Billy? Well, we got Billy. We're just going to get into it, Billy. So, I'm going to wait a little bit before I go into the trick tip. What's up, DJ? How you doing, brother? Um, so, the other day, well, let me give some backstory. This rope here, this is All Gear Cherry Bomb 2. I think it's like 11.7 from All Gear. I think I said that already. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But All Gear makes it. Cherry Bomb 2. I had the original. So I bought this rope brand new. I set it off to the side. Enjoying the AC. Yeah, that's the reason I'm outside, because in the shed it's like still muggy right now. The sun's going down, so we'll move into there here in a little bit. Probably do the demo for setting rings and a friction saver from the ground. But yeah, I'll wait a little bit. I won't start this one with the trick tip. We'll we'll do it here in just a little bit, and then we'll go over like the week as far as tree work. Like, instead of me focusing on what I did that week and doing like my stream, my how many views, likes, all that stuff, what video did the best. I don't like doing that. So we're gonna do things that I saw, videos I saw, channels I enjoyed, stuff like that. So it'd be kind of like a Tree Talk News weekly for the people that I know and things I know going on. So good call on the shoulder harness. I got the monkey beaver shoulder harness. Yeah, yeah, they're really nice. So they really, having suspenders just changes everything as far as the way a saddle feels on you. You become like, your whole body becomes part of it instead of like it just being from your hips down. So yeah, I really like it. I would never go back to, anytime I have the chance, I always wear suspenders, because it's just I don't like not having them anymore. I'm a skinny guy, don't got much of a butt to me, so it's like I lose my britches and my saddle at the same dang time. So so I bought this. When I bought this, Gap Arbor Supply, which I haven't talked to Ray in quite a while, but um, they sent me the, what is that? That is the Poison Moon. It's an 11.7 rope that they make. That I don't know if they make, but it's their rope. Poison Moon 11.7. It's like a blue, pink, purple kind of colors. Really cool. Um, so I used their rope and never used this one. I set it off to the side and wasn't really all that stoked with All Gear, because like I had reached out to them multiple times. They just ignored me, which is kind of weird, but it is what it is. They don't have to answer. So I set this off to the side. I used the Poison Moon, but the Poison Moon got a bit of a defect in the sewn eye, so I had to get away from using that because I needed the full rope on a job. So I used this one. I used this on a really tall, I think it was a maple. So I used it in reverse though, and while I was using the rope runner, it started to slip like crazy out of nowhere. So I don't know what the issue was or why it started to slip, but um, we're gonna check my rope, and I would say about 30 foot down on this end, not on the sewn eye end, on the tail end, about 30 foot down, 20 to 30 foot, the rope smashed out completely and I just started sliding. So I need to check the rope and make sure there's not a defect somewhere in it. Maybe the core's broke, and then I'll have a little peace of mind as to maybe why the rope runner started slipping real crazy on me. But other than that, I've been loving using the Rope Runner Pro. It's such a good device. So I'm gonna do this real quick. That way I cannot think about this anymore. And I would say my arms probably do 5 foot spans. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, Okay, so it would be like right in here. I'm gonna rig some gnarly limbs out on my at my neighbor's in a couple days. I'll record for you guys. It's a huge elm tree. But I'm not really feeling. Maybe the rope just gets really thinnish right here. Like the core feels skinnier there. That's really weird. Hmm. Even with like, you can't see it on camera. So like, it stays really thin right here. It's really stiff up here, but like there's a thin spot right in there. I don't know, I'm gonna keep going a little bit further. I'm gonna see if I feel anything. It was really weird when it happened. See, I feel like there's another spot where the sheave on the rope just is a bit looser. That's weird. See, I've never used this rope in reverse, and I don't know if there's an issue with the way that they work. If when you've milked the rope, it works in a certain way, and I've always used it from the Sonai end. So, what's going on, JP? Yeah, Billy, it was a bit sketchy. Like I was gonna call down for a different device and all kinds of stuff, but what I ended up doing is I pulled the other end of my rope and set it up on the other end and used my gree. Anytime I go up and I do a climb, I always have the gree 2 on my back. I have another climbing system, and I take that always because it's so quick. It's really nice for like spar work or being directly in front of you. It's really quick to set up. So yeah, I think I'm gonna slide my hand back down this and then see if I feel that spot again. Yeah, it's like right there, I think. Huh. Yeah, it was really weird the way it smashed out. Yeah, that's strange. I don't really like that. So I'm going to use the rope the other direction so it's always milking it the same way, and hopefully I don't run into those issues or anything. Doing pretty good, JP. How are you? So now I've just made a mess with this rope. Here's the reason that I used to really love these ropes, and the reason I always got them is because of the Sonai. This Sonai used to come with a plastic coating over it and a little plastic center to where it kept your carabiners locked into place. Actually, I probably have one right here. And at the time when I got both the ropes, I was using, I had bought a all gear rocket line. It had gotten cut, and I had also bought the cherry bomb one, and it got cut. So like, I had those ropes. They were a bit short. Plus, I had this right here, which is the Tuffelberger Tachyon Ash, and I was using it too at the time. Somehow it got cut too. So here's what the eyes used to look like. They come with this plastic cover, which I love this, and this plastic center. Your carabiners lock into place much better. They don't shift and move as much. I use a lot of Tachyon ropes. Yeah, Tachyon Ash is a really, really good rope. Any of the Tachyons, the Poison Ivy, they're all really, really nice. I've always liked them. So, the way my bag's set up, like all my gear, like devices, all that stuff, carabiners, these pouches on the side, I clip my speedline straps to this. This unclips, a bunch of ropes in here, and in the back I always have my handsaw. I love this bag, and the way it's set up, Greg got it for me. So, yeah, not liking how that acted with this rope, but loving this device other than that. So, well, I'll talk about I'm gonna wrap this rope up. and I'm just going to answer your comments right now, and then we're going to go and do the demonstration on how to set a friction saver or a cambium saver or rigging rings from the ground. This is a really cool trick to know. Also, I'll give away a couple little tricks when it comes to climbing. If you have two ropes, even if you climb DRT, you could always set your rope SRT and then anchor even a friction saver, if you get the right kind, onto the single rope and climb that way. Whoa, how is there a big knot in this thing? That's crazy. So yeah, there's a real cool trick, because a lot of times when you're climbing DRT, it's hard to access the whole limb and like get your throw ball to go directly over a single limb and get the throw ball back. So I can show you a little trick and a neat little friction saver device that you can use. You could also use a prusik to do that trick with a beaner and stuff, but I'll show you that after we do the how to set a cambium saver, friction saver, or rigging rings from the ground. And the reason you would need that, to set a tie-in point, that way you're not burning the crotch of a tree up. SRT, you don't have to worry about that as much, so you wouldn't really use them SRT as much. But you do have to set that rope at some point, anchor it, and do all that stuff. So it would eliminate any rubbing or messing it up. But DRT is where you're going to need cambium savers, and a lot of guys just prefer to stay DRT, which is dual rope. So I'm going to show you that little trick, and it's just a really cool trick to know. The other reason you would need it is if say you need to rig out of a, like you were going to lower a tree, or you need to drop a tree but it's real close to something, there's another tree close by, you can set a rigging point in that tree, cut your tree, bring it over, and slowly lower it so that you can be super precise. Or just if you wanted to rig out of a separate tree. So it's a cool little trick to do. It's something that, like, I'm trying to think, I think Educated Climber would be the guy that I originally learned it from, I believe. But I tried to figure it out on my own. And like at first I'm like, that makes sense, I got this. So I bought a Buckingham one, and I tried it, and it didn't work at all. I could not figure any of it out. I was so puzzled. So I do always, I'm a stickler for it, and I think it's going to be, you're not going to see it much on YouTube anymore, given credit from where I got it from. So Educated Climber, or you know what, it may have been Climbing Arborist. It was one of them two. Both of them are real good climbers in general, and they just know a ton, and they break things down really good. So one of them two is the one I got it from. Here is what we're going to use for our demo. This isn't a set of rigging rings, but you just upsize, and that's the only difference. So what I show you with the ropes and this applies to rigging rings, so that I don't confuse anybody. It's not going to be rigging rings, but DJ says, does your slick pin near the brake area spin a lot with your rope runner? Near the brake, which one you're saying? Be this one, right? I don't know. I don't really ever pay attention to it. It has a bit of play in it, but yeah, that one definitely wouldn't move. Are you talking about up here at the bird flap? Yeah, that one, I could see that one moving. Yeah, that's kind of the design that it has, because this thing itself doesn't actually spin, so This, yeah, with the right amount of friction, you're probably going to get that thing. It's going to spin often, but I've noticed that if you don't set these up the right way, you don't get the benefit of the little like thing that's inside there. If you have them the right way, you can just turn it to get it to come out, which is really nice. If you put it in the wrong way, that doesn't work. It's got these really cool little notches in there. I'll show you when I. So there's cool little notches that are made. You see it down here. And what happens is as it spins around, it hits that notch and it closes it for you. So, oh, which way did I? I think when I first got it, I was like, well, I'm right-handed, so I want these pins to be on the other side. But then afterwards I realized, no, I'm right-handed. I want them to be on this side so I can hit all the pins correctly. Then I started to realize, oh, yeah, like it's supposed to be this way. When I put them the other way, I lost all the benefit of those pins popping. So you can get it open easy. Yeah. Yeah, what it is the way this is designed is basically inside here, it's somewhat of a cam because this thing closes down on the rope. So this thing works as like a cam, same way as like a the hitchhikers and stuff. And then this works as like a rope wrench. So it makes it so this wouldn't work by itself, but with this as an addition, it puts two bends in the rope and makes it controllable. Same way, if you guys have seen another guy I would recommend, Giorgio Fiore. He is a wizard when it comes to tree work. He's one of the smartest dudes out there. He's French, so it's kind of hard to remember or like translate some of his stuff, but he's got a new little device. It looks like just a rope wrench that you lock in, and it's got a string on it, but it's got a little cam built into it too. So, but it's all compacted to like that little piece there. So, and you hook it up. But hey, a thing to check on yours is if your spring is still popping. You always want your spring popping. I need to grease this thing right in there, spray it. So, yeah. What do you say? It's getting dark, so let's go ahead and go in, and I will set up the little tree thing. I also need to shoot. I have to go grab some Throwball string real quick. So we're gonna show a up close, detailed explanation on how to set a cambium saver, a friction saver, or rigging rings. It's all the same from the ground. One of the things that I really like is this little device, and I'll show you the reason I like this thing so much when we get in there. Let me run. So one thing I'll talk about before we go in is Jeff Schroeder. For those who don't know Jeff, Jeff is a great tree guy, works with August, and makes axes, amazing axes. He's been putting out a couple videos and some pics of some axes he's getting rid of. Let's see, what did he have? He's got a 4.5 pound Taz. He has a 5-pound Plum and a 4.8 pound Taz. So I think it's like a key steel. But here's the axe Jeff made me. I never told Jeff, but I've always looked for and wanted one of these jersey patterns. It's got the ears here. And he just randomly sent me this one, which is my dream axe, because we don't have these here where I'm at. I've never seen one in person. and all the cool guys that were on YouTube cutting trees had these kind. And I'm like, I want to be cool. I don't want to be an idiot with like one of these. And I'm just like, so yeah, this was from Jeff. Jeff is such a good axe maker, but he's selling some axes. So if you guys are interested, go check his channel out. He does a lot of different handles and stuff, different sizes. So take you guys, we'll work our way in. Okay. Something to look at. Look at the saws. While I go get. There's our demo tree. There's some light. All right, let me go get the Throwball string. I'll be right back. Okay. Jeez, it's dirty in here. All right, guys. Sorry. I apologize. Dang, the bugs are already in here. Left the door open for 2 seconds. We get hot in here. We got a fan. Okay. See if I can get this thing to work again. Alright then. So, I want to see who's here. Then we're going to do this demo on how to set a friction saver from the ground. So, alright, let's do this. Trick tips. How to set a friction saver, cambium saver, or rigging rings from the ground. So, this is going to... I've never done such an up-close demonstration, so this ought to be kind of cool. Maybe I can explain it a little better than I ever have before. So, here's what we got. Say we want to set our cambium saver in this here. Jeez, it's already so hot in here. I think I'm going to take my chances with the bugs. Yeah, I am. Okay, so our cambium saver's here. And our throw ball string. I keep my throw balls on my climbing bag here. I've already lost one. I'm down to like one throw ball now. But that is what it is. So, should probably back up a little bit. A little too close. Get anything in the camera. Okay. I wish I had it. I don't have a fan in here. It is so hot. I'm already sweating, but the door's open. It just got hot because of all the lights. So, one of the biggest tips I could give you is the setup for your throw ball and for your rings, or throw ball string, how you tie it on and how you tie a rope on. So, the way I do it, I tie a loop in the end of my throw ball string. Okay? The thing with it is this loop needs to be big enough for the throw ball to go through. So it just barely fits through it. See? Alright. So, Dan, what's going on? 98. Yeah, I'm already starting to sweat. This is crazy. But so here's how I always set everything up. I'm going to show you how I tie it to a rope too, but this knot stays in it all times. It's the fastest way to do it. Instead of having to tie a knot and untie a knot and tie a rope and untie a rope, you take this loop, you go through the ring of this, and then bring it over the top of it. That causes a girth hitch. So we go through the ring, take it, go over the top of this, slide it down. So now you have a knot that's definitely not going to catch anything. The connection point's back here, the little space is up here. Everything's where it should be. It's really easy to do. And to take that off, you have one end that has the two ropes and the other end that has the lock, which is there. You take from the lock end always. It's showing you which one to do. So take that lock, pull it out, and back over the throw ball, and that comes out. See, this knot is just the right size to barely get through it, but that's how it comes back out. So it can't get much easier in my opinion, but so if I'm gonna try to connect the throw ball. I'm gonna throw the throw ball. It's gonna go up through this fork. I want to set a cambium saver in that fork, or let's say we want to set it on the fat side here. A little better of a time. Okay, so to do that, when you do this with these, the first thing you need to do is find the big side. If you're setting rings and you want them to be retrievable, you need to have two different sizes. Then you find something, a knot or a device, a little tool that'll use as a stopper, that as you go to retrieve it, it goes through this one and can't go through this one, which retrieves it. So here's step one to setting a cambium saver. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to move you guys back a little bit because it'll be a little clearer if you can see some of this stuff. Oh. Let's see. Yeah, that'll be perfect. Okay, so first thing you'll do is take and put the string before you put the throw ball on, or if the throw ball fits to it, whatever. The first thing I do is I put it through the big end of this. Put my throw ball string through, and I pull enough out. If you got a box, you could just set that over the side of it. But what I would do is just pull it back through, have it setting down. Okay? So now it's setting there. It's through the big end, little end's still sitting here. So the thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my throw ball. I'm going to connect it real quick. And I'll answer questions as I go. So if this is confusing to anybody and you're here, I'll answer any questions. There's no dumb questions. You guys are trying to figure something out by watching this hillbilly on a little bitty screen. So ask questions if you have them. So my throw ball goes up, goes through there, and back down. Okay? So, or maybe it goes over this way. Alright, so I'm over the little one. But where I want to set mine is here. So I take my throw ball, I walk it around the back, and I would now be here. Okay? I would go over here to my throw ball. I would take it off. Just like I was showing you before. So now I go over here to my cambium saver. And remember, I have the first end through the big one. Now I'm going to hook up to the little one. You put the rope through to the little one. So it's went through this small ring now. Well, now you have to put the throw ball back on. Okay, so what happens now is the throw ball is going to work as a stopper to start to lift the cambium saver rings, friction saver. It's going to lift the device or the system up into the tree. It's going to work as a stopper. So you go down, you go back to the beginning of your throw ball string, you grab the string from behind the ring. You don't grab from in front of the ring. You grab from behind the ring, you know, because you've went through it. You grab behind and you just start pulling that rope up. You'll see what happens here. I've got the big one over here. As I'm pulling, see, that's working as a stopper on this. So it's headed up. As it goes up, this starts to go up too a ways. So when you get to this, and I say the same thing with anybody when they're pulling a throw ball through a crotch, I get it a couple inches below it, say 4 to 6 below, and then I get ready and I really give it a pull because it'll bounce it up through the crotch. So I guess we don't have to do all that because we're here by it, but it goes up and through. Okay? So what happened, if we take it back out, there's our setup, just like I showed you guys. Here's the end to pull with the big one through, there's the little one. So as this ball goes up, it brings that little ring up with it. It throws it up through here. And when it comes down, if you look at it here, it's going through the big one and into the little one. So it's set up. Now you can let the ball drop. You would go back to your throw ball because you've actually set your cambium saver right now. John Bob, what's going on, brother? How are you? So you've actually set your friction saver, but now you need to get the rope into the friction saver, or you've set your rings, and now you need to set the rigging rope into it. So here's where that same knot, I take my throw ball off, really quick and easy, just like before, no knot, and I get a hold of the rope. We'll use this one. I take this same loop that I have, and I take a piece of my rope and I put it through it. So what I've made is a little slip knot where it's girth hitching onto the rope now. So after I girth hitch onto the rope, I could try to pull it up like this, but if you notice, this is going to catch. So what I usually do is go down a little ways. You don't want a big long section of the rope to be stiff during this because it needs to be able to flex to get in through both rings. So I go there, I go with a really short half hitch as high up onto this as I can possibly get without it like slipping off. So you see how that is there. So now as I go, I cross my ropes up, but now as I go to lift that up in there, it's going to go in reverse through the little one and into the big one. So you should always like jiggle and mess with these things to get them so they're lined up correctly, you know. But it may take you a few times because you're trying to hit two separate rings and get them to both go through. But that went through. We'll pull it back through just so I can show you that it did go through. So as it goes up, goes through, and then through the little one, or through the big one. So now you're set up with your rings, or you're set up with your friction saver. The only thing that you really have to remember now is when it's time to retrieve, one way, the opposite. It needs, and with this thing, what's really nice is I don't have to use a friction saver. I can just use an overhand knot. I try to put it kind of towards the end of the rope always. Now watch, this little knot is gonna do everything. Go through, you give it a jiggle, and what happens is it goes through the big one, but it catches this one. And then when you go to pop it out, that's how you get your rope back. So that same setup would just change a little bit if you were setting up rings. Maybe this isn't quite big enough, so you would use like you'd have to kind of get creative. Maybe you would use a carabiner or something and clip like a carabiner on instead of a friction saver, or instead of a throw ball, because maybe the rings are a little big. So you use so as it come down, it goes here, goes over, and you tie on to the string. You just clip a carabiner on, and if it works, and it's big enough that it'll work as a stopper, you get it to go up through. Then you've set, some rigging rings. But you always need to know before you set these up in the air, what will it take to retrieve it. So that's why I always say kind of test these few things really on kind of low. That way you can work the nuances with them out a little bit, because they can be a bit tricky. But this is a really nice way to be able to set some rings up in a tree so you can rig out of it. And if you like using a cambium saver, if you're climbing DRT and you're hip thrusting, this is 1,000 times easier to do than going through a natural crotch. So this stuff works really, not only to protect the tree, but your rope moves through this so effortlessly that you don't get the crazy amount of friction. Not only does it help you, it helps the rope. It's not as abrasive on the rope, so helps the tree, helps you, helps the rope. That's the reason you use a cambium saver. Um, and rigging rings, it's just you could access a much bigger section. You can put the rings basically wherever you want them and make a rigging position somewhere. Unless you're trying to do like from the ground, you just need a good enough union, and then make sure that your stopper that you're using is big enough to be the stopper and work through one ring. And it would always help if you can have one ring bigger than the other. That way it can pass through one but be stopped by the next. Most friction savers can't, all of them actually are different. Or what they'll do sometimes is they will tie like a little attachment onto this to where there will be like a little rope that hangs off of this. Let's say like we did it here. And it would hang like maybe down below it a little bit. And you would use it as like the retrieval thing. So when the rope's actually set up, maybe it's a little smaller. And as the rope goes through this, it actually goes through the first one, whether it be like a little bitty ring or something, and then through these. And then you could have these be the same size. It wouldn't matter, because this thing would be working as the retrieval. So you can make a normal set. If you got B strings, you can make them retrievable by attaching a ring to it so that it'll retrieve off of it. Or you could attach like a micro pulley or anything. I would say like a DMM ring or something like that on a set of rigging rings. You could take a prusik and attach it on your rigging rings right up here and hang that little ring off of it or something and make them retrievable. So, Jeffrey, how are you, brother? We had a loud third outside. Oh, right on. Doing pretty good, Jeffrey. How are you? I'm sweaty. Ugh. But I'm going to show you another trick and a way that you can use this thing that is really cool. So if you was to, let's say you're a DRT climber, but like I said, it's so hard to, when you're setting a climbing line, get a throw ball and actually hit one single limb without going over multiple limbs and get the rope back so that you can set, your climb system, and it goes up over one limb and back to you. Usually it goes through multiple limbs and it's back here and you got to get all that out. So you can set up a quick system, DRT. Let me hang on. I want to keep up with comments. I'm sorry. I used a pulley saver for DRT? Yeah, right on. Yeah, I mean, mine as well, because the only thing better than using something like this is if you were able to use a pulley, because then you're getting mechanical advantage. It's going to be even smoother and easier. So yeah, if there's anything I could recommend above a friction saver to make it easy on you, it would be exactly like DJ saying, is a pulley. So I'm glad you made it, Jeffrey. I'm really glad you made it, brother. Um, so let me show you this little setup here. So you can throw a rope up through and then go ahead and base anchor it. This thing up here. And with this device, which is really cool, you could, I mean, I guess you could take it actually and just run it through a bunch of times and climb off of it. And that would probably be okay. Well, yeah, I know it would be okay because you can dress it and get it set and then put a stopper on it so that it can't move. But this little setup, I love this friction saver. It is uh, from ABR. So what I would say would be like hook it up like this. I usually climb like or set up like a VT, but let's just say we used a Prusik knot on this one. There's you a DRT on an SRT setup. So what you could do is, even if you climb DRT, you could set your DRT setup here through this while it's on the ground even. And then as you go up, advance it. And then when you get it to where you want, I would say it would probably be beneficial if you could slap like a carabiner on there as like a stopper, so that if that thing was to try to slip, it can't. So if it tried to come down here, it can't if you got a carabiner in there. And then you're able to climb DRT on an SRT setup, and it could just be more comfortable for you. Or you could travel up this rope and be able to. A lot of guys like to go like SRT up and then they switch to DRT. Well, you continue to use this and still be DRT with this setup. Or you could do it with like a Prusik uh, and a micro pulley too. So you could set that same setup up on it and use like a little micro pulley. That's going to be even probably smoother and better. So, but yeah, that's a fun little setup that I like. You can actually use these things. Catch up on comments. For SRT too, I'll show you. It's very similar to that. And dang, them pines, you got 2 weeks worth, huh? Dang. So if you were wanting to climb, like you set this like we were doing before. Um, let's say you set with your Throwball and you got the cambium saver up there and you got your rope through it, but you don't want to climb DRT. You want to climb SRT. We were on the big one. So then what you would do is put the rope through, okay, and pull it down enough that you have double the rope, because what you're going to want to do is put like a stopper knot in there and a carabiner. And then when you pull the rope back, what happens is that stops at this, and it allows this to be a retrieval line and for you to climb SRT on a cambium saver, which is really kind of fun and nice to do. So if you set this up, you're not automatically forced to be DRT the whole time. You can be SRT with a cambium saver. It's just kind of a choice thing. You can easily set it up by stopper knot and, you know, a carabiner. You could just get away with a knot if that's what you wanted to do. I would always say put the carabiner in if you can, because it's just the knot can't come undone with the carabiner in there. But I mean, I guess you could just go ahead and put like a alpine butterfly. Well, what did I just do? My bad. What do I keep doing wrong? Hell with that. I'm gonna tie the one that I know. So tie like an alpine butterfly. This is a circus knot, but whatever. It's the knot I prefer. I don't tie the alpine butterfly a whole bunch. So you could get away with that. Then we go up in it. But like I said, you need double the rope here because when that goes back up and the knot gets there, you need double that down there because you want to tie the knot. And you need this rope to be long enough to be retrieved. So you have to take that into mind if you're going to do this. But that could maybe somehow wiggle its way out. I don't think so. But if you put the carabiner in, it's not possible. A little trick to know. I guess we're just basically doing info on cambium savers tonight. But Michael, sorry, my phone's all cracked up. Michael Hoff edits. Good evening. Good evening, Michael. How you doing? I just said your name like a hillbilly, and I always wonder why when people say Mike, because my name is Michael also. Uh, it sounds hillbilly when some people say it, and I'm always like, why do they say it like that? And then I just said it that exact Michael. Whatever. Yeah. So that's your cambium saver setup. I'm just gonna chit chat with you guys for the rest of the time. We're gonna talk a little bit of YouTube news and what's been going on around YouTube this week, and yeah, maybe we'll get a little shady, talk a little shit on people. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe. We'll see. We'll just see how it goes. Sometimes you just gotta razz people a little bit. So here's my setup. Here's another thing. I always put my throw balls on these spools. You'll see in the next video, which probably will be out tomorrow. I'm trying to keep the content rolling for you guys. So I've about got it finished. Had to do some voiceover stuff because I needed to explain a little bit. But I'm going to show you, if you've seen the YouTube short, the trick of the 2-day rope, where you replace your climb line with the throw line so that when you come back the next day, your throw line's already set in the tree and you don't waste 30 minutes to an hour throwing a throw ball repeatedly. Yeah, I show you one of the benefits, the major benefits to having this as opposed to like having it in a container or in one of them cubes. As it goes up, there's no chance of it getting knotted up, and it works perfect. But I do have an issue here because it broke a little bit, so I need to cut another little notch for the string to sit into. I'm gonna do that real quick. I'll explain and show you what I'm talking about when as soon as I'm done with it. Better saw? I think I do. Oh yeah, I do right here. So what this is a little notch to put the string into after we spool it up, so that the end doesn't repeatedly come out. I cut one in the other end, but I guess somebody stepped on this the other day. So what happens is, as you spool that around, you take the end of it, and like I said, I always take my throw balls and I put them. Dang, that thing's loose. I need to open that a little more. I take my throw balls and I always put them on my climbing box or climb bag because it's just easier. If I keep the throw ball attached, it ends up coming unspooled and it's aggravating. So yeah, now I cut a little notch in there. I don't know if you can see it. Let's see. Yeah, right there. The little notch. And the rope just goes up and into that little notch, and it keeps it there so that when I go to use it the next time, I can easily just go over to it and grab it. If you put the notch right. Dang, this thing is so loose, like, I didn't realize how messed up it was. Jeez, come on. I don't remember this being so difficult the first time I did it on the yellow side. But anything I do on camera especially has got to be aggravating. There we go. Alright, it's in there now. I do need to tighten that up though. Okay. I did the few things I needed to do. Now I'm just gonna sit here and chit chat with you guys. Let's talk last week on YouTube tree work. I got myself into a gnarly one that looked like it was about 50 foot in the picture. I got there, it's probably 110. Ended up being incredibly hollow and about 3 times as big as I thought. There's like vintage cars up underneath it the whole time, and it was just a pain. But yeah, I drove an hour and a half, so decided, yeah, just have to figure out how to make it work. So seem to find myself in those positions a lot anymore, but that is what it is. Let's see. Try to write down a little bit of notes because I end up forgetting, and then after the live feed's over, I'm like, dang, I meant to talk about this or this or this. So let's see. Watch your fingers. Yeah, I know. If I'm messing with a saw, I'm bleeding. So I got out of that one without bleeding, but oh man, it's so hot. So okay, here's the first thing I want to talk about. YouTube is it has eliminated one aspect of tree work, okay? It has completely eliminated it. It does not exist anymore. So you can't get on YouTube anymore and say, hi, I'm just getting into tree work. I taught myself everything I know. I've had to learn on my own. It's just, I don't believe it. It's just not possible anymore. There's so much stuff out there. So the fact that that is like that, and you couldn't say it if you wanted to, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but like, it's there. There's so much information so you can learn. You don't have to, and no one just decides to learn everything on their own. You may get a bit of a reference. Maybe you don't get every detail from a person, but you've watched them, you've taken notes. So that's where I wish I would see a little bit on YouTube, some credit given to some of these guys that have been doing this for so long. Not even myself. More like Educated Climber and Climbing Arborist and guys like Daniel Murphy. For those of you who don't know, Daniel was on the channel not too long ago, and Daniel's been doing like YouTube tree work videos for like 14 years or something. So that guy knows his stuff. Guys like Arborist Blair Glenn. There's so many of those guys out there that are giving you all the knowledge that they spent years killing their body getting, spent money taking classes, and like learned by making all the mistakes along the way to perfect something. So it kind of chaps my ass a bit when people don't give credit and they just like will randomly like, hey, I'm gonna show you this. Like, I get that. I don't think you should have to do it every time you do something. I'm not saying that. But there are those guys out there that start channels and maybe they just had a good title and it or like a good name and it blew up. And they just continue to scour YouTube, watching other people taking those ideas and regurgitating them on their channel and just pretending like they come up with this. They will go to the point of naming a technique because they didn't even spend the time learning the name of the technique before they felt the need to teach the technique. So they have to rename it. Then they call it something else. So eventually that's kind of got to have to, maybe it'll become obsolete. It's just hard for me to respect some of it that I see out there. And this is nobody on the channel that I know of. Everybody seems to be very like-minded to me. So I'm not saying anybody on the channel, but there's a lot of YouTube channels out there. Um, Here's one, and I wrote down the name of the channel, um, but I don't want to do that. I don't really have anything. Actually, I think the guy is very skilled, and he's just probably a really good hard worker with a lot of common sense. But just because someone says teach teach us this doesn't mean that you should do it. If you don't have a complete understanding of it, don't do it. I mean, people have asked me to like do things that I don't know. Like they want like crane explanations. Like what about I'm not that guy. I'm just not that guy, so I'm not gonna step on the next guy's toes and pretend that I know for the sake of giving content. But I watched a YouTuber do a how-to. This is crazy. How to cut a Humboldt face cut. The title was How to Cut a Humboldt Face Cut. The thumbnail said How to Cut a Humboldt Face Cut. 5 minutes into the video, he realized he knows very little except for how to make the Humboldt. So he then says, "Oh, this is not a how-to video. This is just more for entertainment." No, you can't do that. You can't. Well, I guess you can do whatever you want. I don't respect it. You have tricked the viewer into come here. I've mastered something. I'm going to teach you this. After they've got there and they've given you their time, you then let them know that you don't really know much, but you're going to give them what you know. And then you realize, well, I could even be wrong about some things, or I'm going to be so limited on my knowledge that even though I made my thumbnail and the title after I made the video and edited it, I say in the video it's not a how-to. You can't. So that was insane to me. This video had like 425,000 views. The guy himself has like almost 40,000 subscribers. So he just seems like he's a very hard-working man that has a lot of common sense and can figure some things out. But you lost me when you basically told me that you don't know something, but I'm going to teach you anyway because someone asked me to, and then you backed out of the responsibility of the teaching mid-video, but still decided to make your thumbnail and the title say that it's a how-to video, which is really strange to me. Maybe I don't get the YouTube thing anymore. Maybe that's it. I don't really know, but I don't get it. Um, I don't really get that. Teach someone something. Well, like I said, I've said this before. I skateboard, and it's funny because kids and even I've seen grown-ups land a trick that maybe took them a long time. They land that trick and they immediately decide that they are now going to do a how-to video for you on how to land the trick, which is well, you landed it one time. You are not ready to do a how-to video. You don't even understand how it works. It just worked one time. So that's usually my comparison, but I don't really get it. I give credit to the U.S. Forest Service and several logging companies and several trick services and great art techniques from guys on YouTube. Yeah, brother. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I mean, maybe I've experimented with a few things along the way, and maybe I've come up with a couple techniques, but like all my credit goes to my old man, and like he gave me all the basics, and the basics get it done. So like without those basics, I don't develop anything that I learned. So yeah, maybe it is. Maybe a how-to video, Michael. Maybe it does better views. And it did great on views. So maybe it is just clickbait. I don't know. Thanks, Dan. Oh, and like I said for you guys, so yeah, like I said, I have the guy's channel name and all. I'm not doing that. If you stumble across the video, trust me, you will know which one I'm talking about. So, Schroeder, Jeffrey, sells axes. I told you guys that just a few minutes ago. Here is Jeff's number if you're interested in getting one of these axes, which are some of the best work I've ever seen. Jeff didn't do this. I do this to all my axes to keep from beating up the handles when I let guys use them. But Jeff's number to contact him is 530-338-6552. 6552. That's 530-338-6552. Been really cool watching Jeff's channel grow. It's growing really quick. Another guy that I kind of want to give a little shout out, and he may not even watch this channel, but Radical Steel is his name. I went and checked his YouTube channel out. He leaves comments here and there. For me, I have to look at your comments most of the time through the studio, which is a completely different app. So every once in a while, I hate clicking on my own videos and watching them. So I have to click on it to check the comments. So usually I'm checking it in the studio, which I can't just click on your name and go watch your stuff. I have to go back to YouTube and then look you up. But yeah, Radical Steel, I wish he would continue to make videos, go back to making videos. It seems like maybe he's taking a little while off. Maybe he's just doing the YouTube shorts. He had a really funny one where he cut this tree and the squirrel come jumping out of it. And like the squirrel did, if you've ever climbed before and thought about like if this thing goes down, I'm going to jump out at just the right time to where that's what the squirrel did. It was perfect. So, yeah, little shout out to Radical Steel. Get back into kicking them videos out. I was entertained. I would watch. I subscribed. So next would be Peter Shea, which Peter's usually in the comments. Awesome dude, great tree guy, hard worker. Peter just put out a video. It was a tough job made easy, where you get your marching orders that says like, hey, there's this tree. It's got this up underneath it. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be this. You gotta watch out for this, and you show up and you're like, dude, I'm gonna notch and drop this thing. There's room, and you just send it. So basically, that boiled down to him being experienced enough to be able to look at something, estimate the size, and can it fit in a certain area, and he was able to do it. So check out Peter's channel. Shea is spelled Shea. You guys, Peter's Peter, but Peter Shea. He also put out some community pictures of a small oak he was doing that barber chaired on him. That's something else for you guys to really watch out for, is if you're ever lanyarded in or tied into a tree and it starts to barber chair, you have to remember, like this crack here, say I was cutting this and this whole thing barber chaired, it's going to take my rope and rip it out, which I knew a guy that was a climber. He broke his hips, broke his rib cage, it smashed him into the tree, and it stripped his knot out, thankfully, and it finally broke off, but it could have killed him. So just something to watch out for. Barber chairs is a really scary situation, so it can happen at any time. And usually they're very hidden. The crack's always in the center of the tree. So he dropped it in the road. Yes, he did, Billy. Yep, right in the road. There's plenty of room for it. He's right in front of those power lines. So he had the fence on the back side of it, and then he did it was like watching myself, because like everything goes perfect. Then you go to make the stump cut. a vine grabs your saw and yanks it into the metal fence, you end up knocking a tooth off, and that's the way things go. So, he saved the company a day's worth of money. Yeah, yeah, and I get when guys, I think they should benefit from that kind of thing. So I've been in some operations where if you work really fast and do something like that, they're sending you to the next one, and like then they're mad that you didn't get the next one done because technically you had enough time, but originally I shouldn't have got the first one done. And hopefully those people take care of him for that knowledge. So I've been teaching my daughter about baby shit. Oh yeah, yeah. It's a sketchy situation. It's a knowing compression and tension would, and I watched a Buck and Billy Ray video, and he made a really good point on as you're climbing, especially up something that's somewhat skinny and it's starting to lean. Taking your gaps and scarring it up too much on the back, you're scarring up the tension wood, and it can barber chair easier because you're like placing cracks and bad spots all in it. So like trying to walk on the outer edge, sometimes um, the more a tree leans, the more the tension wood is a factor. The straighter it is, it almost starts to eliminate tension wood, and it all becomes compression wood because it's straight up and down. Gravity's doing everything. But with a lean, you then get compression and tension wood, and you have to know where that lean is going. If the lean's going here, your tension wood's on the back. That's the scary spot. If it's going this way, the tension wood's on the back. So because it's compressing the front wood and it's stretching the back wood, and that's where you get a barber chair a lot of times. So been knocked down a few times with a barber chair. Yeah, actually, same thing with me. I ended up in the next video you guys are gonna watch. I ended up doing a section of the tree, but right beforehand I went to move my camera because I had bumped it and it broke off, fell to the ground, and I was up on this dead stem, and I'm like, it's already hooked up. I'm cutting it, and when I went to cut it, it ended up like barber chairing and standing up. Like I tried to keep the cut down here, but it bypassed my notch, went way up here, barber chaired, stood up, and the butt almost come down onto me. I had to shove it off. So barber chair is a sketchy situation. I'm 8 months behind on your videos, but trying to. Oh dang man, how's it going with Gap Barbers? It's not. I haven't talked to them, but I don't know. They're really busy. I'm sure the business is probably doing pretty good for them. And Ray did always tell me like if I need something, call him. But I've never been that type of guy. Like if a company, that's why you'll never see like me demoing major product all the time. I just don't want to reach out. Like I tried that when I was starting the channel, and like I got like ignored by a bunch of companies that I liked, and I started realizing like I took that personal, and I stopped liking the like all gear. And I shouldn't be like that. Like they don't owe me nothing, so I've always been that type. I hate to ask people for stuff, so and I think they would probably help me out if I needed anything though. So as far as I know, we're doing great, but like I'm just continuing to shout them out when I can and give them a bit of publicity for what they've done for me. So I really like Ray. It was cool to meet him too. So next would be okay. Oh, Nick Pixel made an appearance on YouTube. Hit us with a couple community pictures. Nick, we all miss you. Come back, do some content. Um, and happy Father's Day to you. Um, it looks like maybe he's on a mission to like he's bought some land maybe, and he's planning on build. I haven't been able to keep up with Nick what he did there at the end, and like I just kind of forgot about him because he wasn't popping up in my feed, or I probably would have already watched a lot of his last few videos. But yeah, he popped up just recently, so I just wanted to shout out Nick. Channel's Nick Pixel TV. Um, Ground Pounder has been kicking out some good live feeds. He's been getting some work done. I think he did, yeah, fall on a stem with an 880, which was kind of a cool video. Um, oh, yeah, like, yeah, I'm talking tree work on YouTube, and I'm gonna act like I don't. Who is that guy? August put out a couple videos. Poor man's grapple saw, and what was the other one? Oh, big wood chipper making chips. I think he's still trying to sell his chipper, which is wild to me. He's had some of the greatest luck I've ever seen when it comes to just selling something because of his followers. He just like brings it up, and I think it almost seems like he's a bit shocked that someone hasn't bought it already. Um, but like, man, that's crazy. That's a lot of money, and they've seen that it's been it's been used, and like I don't know, like he just seems surprised that he hasn't sold it, and I just if things are tight for him, I'm sure they're really tight for all three guys. I know things are super tight for me right now, so like to think that someone would have it like that, maybe they do, just I don't. But he put out the video with him doing maybe some alders, chipping them up. Then the other one was the poor man's grapple saw, and that's when he was using like a pole printer so you can access and get a hold of the limb, and then severing it with like a pole saw or something. And you can. I've done that with my ground guy. You can use a pole clipper to grab a hold of it and keep a hold of it while your guy cuts it, and then you can let it. A lot of times we'll be on roofs doing that. I don't usually record that stuff because it's just not very entertaining. So he made it kind of cool though. So when I watch people do it, I'm like, dang, it was kind of cool. I should have recorded that before. Like, I don't know. I don't know what people want to watch on YouTube. I feel like the things that I expect to do great on views and videos that I spend all the extra time editing and being real super, they don't do good. So like, I'm not gonna pretend like I know what people want on YouTube. It's all clueless to me. Oh yeah, and Jacob was bragging about all the new stuff yes he was, and he should, he's I think he's in shock himself to he just has to be smart enough to know the limit. You can push things to the point of being too big, and then they become hard to keep running. So but yeah, I mean depends on how you take that one. um, Honestly, his story, if I'm being 100% like honest, and anybody that says any different are lying. I'm not like mad, but like it chaps my ass a bit to watch him blow up twice. Like how did he do it? Like what's so different about his compared to mine? Except for maybe he's a bit of a better personality on camera. But like it's so similar and tree work and stuff, and like I've watched him blow up twice. But I'm so stoked for him because I've seen his story and the struggles he's went through, and he's been forced to blow up twice because when he blew up and was on fire, they threw water on him and put him out, and he had to go do it again. So it's really cool to see him do his thing. You said that, and I had skipped over. His video was actually called. I'm not. I hate when people do the money thing. They're like, I have a I have family who they like take pictures of stacks of money and send it to each other to argue. I got more money than you. Like it's wild. That makes no sense to a guy like me. But greetings from Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada. Oh, how you doing? Pasquasca Outdoors. Well, welcome. Thanks for hanging out. You're a long ways away. You there where all the big trees is, huh? So, I Okay, his video was called $285,000 worth of equipment to do a $2,500 job. I wish like there you I have a bit of envy. Like I am an honest person. I'm a very secure person. I'm a skinny guy, so because I'm skinny, any troll is instantly like crackhead. I've heard that my whole life. I've always been a skinnier guy. I can't help it. So like I'm very secure. That kind of stuff usually I don't like get to me, but like to say that I don't have a bit of envy for how his YouTube careers went and then how his solo career has went, I'd be lying. He's hit the lottery both ways. Like he should be proud of what he's got and feel lucky to have gotten it as fast as he has. So as long as he has gratitude for that, I'll back him the whole way. When I start to feel like he feels like he was owed it, and maybe then I start to cut ties. Like, but I think he's probably a pretty good human. Maybe a bit at times I could see maybe he would like think he's a bit better than the next person because I've heard the way he's like kind of talked about some subject like when guys smoke and like I could see like he's like a classist like that guy's not in my class or league or I don't know maybe not but I've seen spurts of that. That would be the one thing that would probably turn me away as a viewer and a supporter, but he seems like a pretty good guy, and seems like the people that hang around him and that like him seem like pretty good people. So I back it until he gives me a reason not to. So I'm gonna leave you with a couple question-ish kind of things. Um, who puts a wrap on a dump truck? Well, apparently he does, Billy. I don't know. Yeah, it's he's. I hope that he keeps his humbleness about him because he has reached a pinnacle that is higher than any of the other tree guys. But I just hope he keeps a bit of humbleness to him. But I also know that when every time you touch something, it turns to gold, and nothing ever goes wrong for you. That like it's life altering when something finally does. So I hope he just doesn't lose his humbleness. I had a subscriber, or no, probably not even a subscriber, just a viewer, because like 89% of the people that watch my videos don't subscribe. I don't really understand that. Like, it is what it is. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, but I get it. Um, you don't have to do anything. So I had a viewer leave a comment that said, "Oh, you seem like you've changed. You seem humble, and you seem like you have some respect for your ground guy." Like, I've made videos and purposely left that kind of stuff in there because it added to the video or explained a bit of the story. I'm not gonna. Okay, here's how I would make a video. I would show more of my faults than I will show of someone else's. So, in a video, if I give somebody a little bit of a hard time, like a Dave or something, believe me, it was 10 times worse than I ever put in the video. Because I just don't like to do people like that. I would rather take the blame on myself. So anytime I would raise my voice or I would say I would be a bit rude, I would call myself out. I would put it in the video and leave that. And what that did is painted a picture to some people that I'm a jerk and that I don't respect the guy on the ground and like I'm not humble. And if I've ever give the impression that I think I'm better than anybody, you got me wrong. Like I don't. So you look so high, bro. No offense. I'm 10 years clean. I look so high? Like, what? Okay. Kurt, high what? Explain that one to me. because I think about 10 years too. So you're gonna have to explain that one to me, Kurt. Jake is gonna be a good ground guy. And if you're gonna do like a silly, like you look like you smoke pot or something, like that's that's so crazy, man. I don't know where you live, but like that's what 90% of people do. I don't even drink, so that's a funny one. And oh, dang it, what it is Kurt. Kurt, I'm so sorry, brother. He's very insecure with himself. He hates to see somebody. Either he's a fat guy, or a guy that sucks at tree work, or he's a junkie who can't get over. Like, there's something going on with Kurt that makes him point his fingers at other people because he's trying to divert. That type of person, Kurt, I don't get it, brother. I really don't. I don't know what you get from it, but I'm good with. I tell you what, Kurt, do a live feed. Do a live feed and do a drug test. And I will do one right after you. You got to do it live, though. And you got to have the full panel test. Do one live, and I'll do two of them. And we'll see. I don't know about you, but I work for my money. I work for fun, and I prefer to go to bed each night exhausted. So, what you call looking insanely high, I call having a bunch of lights in my eyes so I can give you guys better lighting. Being tired, man. So, are you getting hit with the heat wave where you're at? It's been rough. Yeah. It's been rough here. The humidity has been absolutely insane. So, dang, I hate it that Kurt had to say something so off the wall that he had to get a timeout because I feel like most of those guys, if they have a lick of sense to them and they're not completely insecure little boys at heart, I can usually talk with you and it's okay. Like, before it's all said and done, we figure it out and, like, we're good with each other. We have an understanding. You don't have to like me, that's okay. But don't make up lies about me. I mean, that does neither one of us any good. So, it's crazy because I have a lot of guys in my town that even follow my YouTube channel. And I know that they follow. Like, their family members have told me that they watch my stuff, but they're probably some of the guys who randomly say crazy shit because they're just like, I don't understand being insecure. I'm not that guy that'll argue with any other tree guy over a tree. That's silly. Too many of them out there to do that, so. He should have kept his mouth shut. Yeah, I know, Billy, but I hate that. I figured maybe we could have got through to him and he wouldn't go through life being a goober and being such a sissy that, like, I don't. You want to see. Dude, you want to see the lights that I got in my eyes? You see that? Have that shining in your face. Have the other ones in this room shining in your face. It'll. I bet you I look completely different if I go this way. Hey, look, my eyes open up. Isn't that weird? When I don't have a bunch of lights in it? Guys, I gotta get going. My phone's going dead. I'm on like 3%. If there was any questions or anything by anybody about any of the tips or tricks, please don't hesitate. Leave me a comment. I will answer it. I will answer any questions you have. If you have a new topic you want to discuss next time, let me know. And if I can help you with anything, I'm here. I'm not going nowhere. I don't know, I was going to say something else to Kurt, but I should just leave it alone. Have a good night, Kurt. Hope you get to feeling better. Not really. You suck, Kurt. No, I'm out of here, guys. See ya. Bye, Kurt.